my name's Jim, and I'm a gunsmith. The name of my shop is Gunworks in Harrington, Maine. Today's rifle we're going to disassemble completely for a good cleaning is a Winchester Model 88 lever action. These rifles were made from 1955 to 1973 when they were discontinued. They came in 243, 284 Winchester, 308, and 358 Winchester. 243 and 308 are the most common ones. 284, pretty stout cartridge. They didn't last very long. 358 Winchester, when you can find one of these Model 88s in that, you're going to pay quite a premium for them. There was about 284,000 of these guns made for the total production. So, before we get started disassembling it, just like with any other firearm you're going to take apart, please make sure the gun's empty. What we'll do is we'll remove the magazine, open the gun up, look in the chamber, make sure there's nothing in there. So, before we take this gun apart, I'm going to address a couple of questions I've had on other videos. No, you don't have to necessarily do this for every time you need to clean your gun to take them completely apart like this, but I've discovered quite a few times, more often than not, a lot of times these guns haven't been apart since they've left the factory. They can get pretty grungy inside. So what we're going to do is tear this gun completely apart. However, you're going to need some special little tools for this, to reassemble it. Now, what you're going to need is a set of slave pins for reassembly. What I do is I make these slave pins. I have 3 of them. I keep just 4 working on Winchester 88s. All I did was take a couple of little broken drill bits, and I break drill bits here in the shop, and I matched up some pieces of drill bit that were exactly the same size as the pins that I need inside here. We're going to set these aside, and when we cover reassembly, I'll show you how these slave pins are used. So, we'll start off by removing the gun from the stock. There's only one screw right here in the front of the forearm that holds this gun in the stock. We'll take that out and set it off to the side. Open the action up, and just like on the Winchester 100s, you'll separate the stock just like this. Now, another thing I want to cover, because I get a lot of phone calls. Don't know why. If I don't show you how to take something off in the video, don't remove it. I get a lot of people call and say, oh, I tried taking the stock screw out of the back and now my gun's jammed together. Don't do it. Winchester 100, Winchester 88, leave the plug in the stock. Unless you've got to take the stock apart for refinishing, that's all you have to do with it. Now, I also get complaints sometimes. Well, I see you take these guns apart, but you don't take the scope off. Well, if I don't have to take the scope off, I'm not going to mess with it. Because as a gunsmith, time is money. Just be a little careful when you're moving this thing around, that you don't beat on the scope. Alright? So the first thing we're going to do, if you take a look, there's a pair of screws. One here and one here. There's going to be a little steel block that those screws hold in place. Remove that first. Once you have those 2 screws out, this is dovetailed and slotted in place. Just slide that forward, take that little block out. Now we get to the fun stuff. Winchester 88s are not really that complicated, but they are a notorious pain in the butt. Because once you take this gun apart and you don't have slave pins, you'll never get it back together again. So what we're going to do is right here, where this pivot pin is, where the lever pivots, we're going to remove that pin first. Now that little tap you heard right there, once I push that pin out, that's the bottom of the hammer popping and snapping away. So just set that pin off to the side. You can pull that lever piece down and out of the way. You're going to have a second pin of a similar diameter right back here. You'll want to remove that pin next. Now, once you have those two pins out, now you can pretty much take the parts of the gun out. Reach right back here and pull this back and remove it. Okay, this little locking assembly right here, it kind of fell apart on me. You're going to have a little spring in the back. It's going to fit together just like this. So we'll set these parts to the side. Now, since the Winchester 88 is a toggle activated gun, you'll have a pair of toggles. Now, these toggles go in a particular order. So when you're taking it out, just be cautious of how you get those things out of there. Make sure you remember where they go. This is your right-hand side toggle. Here's your left-hand side toggle. Now, I'll show you a little more detail on these when they go back together. Now, you'll notice the little L-shaped cutout here. They're going to face upward. The little short leg of the L-shape faces to the rear. But you'll also notice there's a bevel on the outside of each one of these. Those bevels face out. That's how you can tell the difference between left toggle and right toggle. So I'll set those off to the side. Okay, now let's concentrate on the trigger and hammer assembly. And notice when we drove that pin out how that hammer snapped up and out of the way. There's going to be a little pin right here in the side that's your trigger pivot point pin. You'll need to drive that out next. There's your pivot pin for the trigger. Put your hand over the top because there's some springs in here and you don't want parts to go flying. Then remove your drift punch. You take this all out in one whole piece. Okay, you'll notice on the back of your little disconnector here there's going to be a trigger return spring. Don't lose that. Small part. Okay, notice how your trigger and your hammer is all locked together. Just grasp right here, pull that little pin and spring out. Separate those and set them off to the side. Now this little pin right here that holds this pivot in place is real easy for that to come out and get lost. Sometimes you can pin that hole over just a little bit to hold that in place. Set that off to the side. There's your trigger. If you absolutely have to, you can drive this other pin out and remove the back part of the lever. But if all you're doing is just clean it, just leave it like this, shoot your little solvent in there, some compressed air, get you in there with a small toothbrush. These little AR-15 cleaning brushes fit right in there just perfect. Clean all that out. And there's safety. Unless you need to take it out, I wouldn't fool with it. But if you have to take your safety out for some weird reason, just grab it, give it a little turn, and then pull it out this side. There's a little ball and a detent and a spring in there. I don't take them out unless I have to. That's a little tiny spring and a little tiny detent ball, and it's easy to lose. Now, what you'll want to do is reach right up here and grab these two little pieces on the back of your bolt. Just pull the bolt straight out the back. We're not going to cover disassembly of the bolt because it's a little bit tricky and complicated. We live in a very litigious society, and I don't want to get sued by telling somebody something that's going to get them in trouble. You know, you've all heard the story about the lady who sued McDonald's because her coffee was too hot. So if you're taking this thing apart for a good clean, this is about as far as I suggest you tear this rifle apart. Unless you absolutely have to, just leave the bolt in one piece. There's nothing in here that you can't really clean without a good soaking in some solvent and blowing it out with compressed air. This is a Winchester Model 88 lever action, completely stripped down for a really good thorough cleaning. And like I said before, you don't necessarily have to do this every time you need to clean the gun. In fact, if you only do it about once a year or once every couple years, this is fine. Thank you for watching this latest Gunworks video. Down East Gunworks is a full-service firearm repair service for all your long guns and handguns that includes a high-tech machine shop for tooling obsolete parts. Old or new, if you have a firearm that needs attention, Gunworks can probably fix it, solve it, coat it, and make it work. If you're living in Down East Maine, come by the shop for a visit. We're located on Route 1 in Harrington. If you live elsewhere, you can reach us by going to the website www.downeastgunworks.com or call in the shop at area code 207-483-2175. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please leave me a comment and rate the video. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll always know when I've posted something new. And thanks again for watching.